Hi everyone, welcome to another homemade video by me, Nora Finch, Mental Readiness Coach. Today what I wanted to talk about in this short video is along my path to becoming a mental readiness coach in my self-defense training of the Israeli system Krav Maga. We basically learned hundreds of moves, right? And there's a lot of things I learned along my path in terms of I don't feel like I needed to learn all of those sorts of things to be able to defend myself, right? But what I want to show to you how in this video is how certain moves actually instill the mindset that I talk about in life that can be utilized in our everyday living with those around us, in our relationships and strangers as well. So it might sound a little bit confusing when I try to make references back and forth, but I'll try to be really clear. Okay, so what I wanted to say, this is coming from a place probably about 8 years ago when I started training in Krav Maga, and one of the ways it empowered me in terms of building my self-worth, because I do feel like I was helpless. I was never in a fight before, growing up and relating to Buddhism, they don't really encourage violence for that matter, or being angry. I would not consider myself I was angry inside and at the world, but I never really expressed it. And so I learned a lot from drill training, having several people on you, sometimes 8 people at a time, with tombstone pads on top of you, and that you had to get out of these situations. So basically what I want to start with is the certain things that you start with. This isn't specific to self-defense, and I'm not doing anything new here. I'm not doing anything elaborate. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to do anything other than show you how these certain moves affected me and how I am able to apply them in life, in my situation. It's actually very interesting. I learned the physical before I learned the verbal. And so when I started assisting and helping out, and I learned all of these sorts of things along the way about always training, coming at it from 100 and starting from there, because a lot of times we are apprehensive when we are first training about, hurting each other and things like that. So that was another walk away. And so all of these sorts of things that I ended up learning, I can show you another time. But basically what I wanted to start with just showing is that whether you are dealing with an opponent, whatever you want to call them, right? Your opponent, or it's your companion or a spouse or a friend. One thing that we start with, I said again, is not specific to self-defense, but just what I want to show you. One of the things that we learn when we start is, it's embarrassing, but basically this role playing and things like that is basically putting your hands up first, right? So you want to keep the person away from you and create space. Whatever you want to use, even if you don't want to use this in real life, if, with a stranger might not care that you have your hands up and saying, I don't want any problems, this is my spiritual line, don't cross it. Whatever language you want to use. I liked my instructor, Chris, Mr. King Krav Maga, here in Sacramento. He always started with that, I don't want any problems, and this is my spiritual line, and kind of deciding when, trying to keep the person away from you. So basically, hands come up. So in real life, it's pretty much saying, I don't want any problems. So basically, keeping the distance, awareness, stay away, sort of a thing. Okay, so hands come up. Next thing is your foot goes back, right? So you're ready to go. And so this is the stance. And then your foot is a little bit off of the ground. Okay, so you're able to balance. So that's there. So pretty much keeping distance and that you're ready to go. Okay, so the next thing is movement. Again, simple and basic. Like I said, I'm not doing anything here totally off the wall or anything. It's very basic, but I loved it because it's still very strategic, right? In real life, you are in a real life dangerous situation. It's just about beating ass, in my opinion, right? So you're not going to be all the different things going on in your body at the time, and adrenaline and everything. Just the fact that you are taking action and doing something is the most important thing. But these things that you learn, I love, because creating movement on your feet is meaning I am ready to go. Just like in verbal judo when it says you're ready when shit is flung. So anyway, movements. So you're always moving. So right in boxing too, right? When you're just always like this and ready, or movement with your feet. So in Krav, we start with the foot goes back, and then you're going to move to the right and the left and circle around if you want. Right, 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 left, 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 left. And there is a certain distance that you have to keep between your feet, things like that between your legs, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. So you're turning, right? You're turning. Forward, back, right, right, right. I know this is really simple again, maybe really lame for a lot of you that already know this, but sometimes people, a lot of you have not heard about anything that I'm talking about in regards to fighting, boxing, any of this stuff, martial arts, okay? Which I see Krav Maga as separate from martial arts, okay? So more different types of aggression. Okay, that's for another show. Okay, next, after movements, what I want to talk about is blocking and defending. And also, so again, just constantly moving and out of the way. You don't want to stay stationary. So if somebody comes at you, these different, I'm going to show you blocks first, right? So whether we're learning this type of block, this, or cover guard or cover block, I've heard both, right? You're going to go like this, right? This is a different type of blocking. Blocks to the body. If you box, you know, you cover your sides, right? Come in. You're protecting, right? So you're blocking your body so they can't get in. Somebody's trying to jab you or stick a shank in there or whatever it is. So blocking, knowing how to block. So mentally, that's going to prepare you, right? I already know that you're going to do what you're going to do, and I'm going to protect myself. I'm also going to protect who comes into my space of my life and who I'm going to trust, right? So we need to err with caution with that, even though I feel like my intuition's pretty good on trusting people. Okay, so, but also take into account, I also was the person who also was, I would say people pleaser in some senses, but I would be the person to answer the door and pick up the phone when I probably shouldn't because it's jeopardizing my safety, or I'm feeling guilty, right, for responding like that, saying no to something, saying not wanting to say no to, to go to something because I feel bad. Okay, that's for another segment. Okay, so after blocking, the third thing that I wanted to say, and there's laundry list of things, right? I'm going to say this is your call to action. So looking at what your strengths are, perhaps your mind is your strongest weapon, right? To you, you know that if you have a plan of action, you know what you can do, right? So if it is a physical situation and you say, oh, I know I can get to popping their ears or whatever it is, eye gouge, these different things are going to make the person maybe more angry, but at least